Hi, children. So, today we are going to do a story, a folk tale from Norway. The name of the story is The Man Who Thought He Was Smarter Than His Wife. The author is Veena Shashadri and illustrator is Gray Stroke. Let's get on with the story. There was once a farmer who was always glum and grumpy. But his wife was not like him. She worked hard and always was a cheerful soul. But gloomy Gus was forever finding fault with her. He thought she was so stupid and couldn't do the smallest thing right. One evening, gloomy Gus came home from the fields in a very bad mood. He knocked on the door, but his wife was busy, so she took an extra minute or two to open it. This made Gus as grouchy as a cross eyed alligator with a toothache. He yelled at his wife, scolded the baby, and stepped on the poor dog's tail, and his crooked teeth went snap, snap, flash, flash, and he kept shouting louder and louder and louder. When he ran out of breath, his wife said, "Shh, shh, why are you making such a fuss? Tomorrow I will go out and work in the fields. You stay here and take care of my jobs, and let's see how you like it." "That's a good idea," said Gus. He thought he was very smart indeed, and he wanted to teach his wife a mighty big lesson. "I'll show you how things must be done." So early the next morning, he sent his wife out to work in the fields. Gus, of course, stayed at home. First, he began to churn the butter, but he soon found out that the job was not easy as he thought it would be. Besides, it made him so thirsty. So Gus went down to the cellar to get some ale. Ale is like juice. He had just opened the tap of the ale barrel when he heard the pig come into the kitchen above oh and he thought that pesky pest of a pig must be at the butter churn, going slurp, slurp, slurp. "I must teach him a lesson he won't forget," growled Gus. Without waiting to close the tap, he ran up the stairs as fast as he could and shouting, "Scat, scramper, scram!" But when gloomy Gus reached the kitchen, it was too late. The pig had already knocked over the butter churn, and there it stood happily grunting in a big puddle of cream on the kitchen floor. Gus gave it such a long, hard kick that the pig fell down dead. Then gloomy Gus remembered that he had left the tap open in the cellar. He ran downstairs, but it was too late. All the ale had run out of the barrel. His throat was parched. He was so thirsty and he was huffing and puffing from running up and down the stairs. And then he heard the cow moo. Gus had no time to think of the cow. He had not given her any grass, not even a sip of water. But he felt very lazy to take her all the way down to the meadow to graze. He remembered there was some grass growing on the roof of his house. So the house was close against a steep hill. He thought he would be able to get the cow up on the roof if he had laid a long flat piece of wood across the back of the roof. But now the little baby was crawling across the kitchen floor. There was still a bit of cream left in the churn, and Gus did not want him to spill it. So he lifted the churn onto his back and went out. He had given the cow some water before putting it on the roof. When Gus bent forward to draw water from the well, there was more trouble. All the cream spilt out of the churn. It bubbled over his head and his shoulders, right into his eyes and nose and ears. And then the churn fell glug, 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 glug into the well. By now it was long past lunchtime. Gus hadn't finished any of the work he should have done. He hadn't churned the butter or swept the house or fed the cow or the baby or the dog or such a long list. And he felt even tired even to think of what he had not done. By the time he put the cow on the roof, the baby had grown very hungry. And the baby began wah, wah, loudly the baby was crying. So gloomy Gus decided to cook some porridge. He lit the fire, filled a pot with water for the porridge, and then the dreadful thought struck him. The roof sloped very steeply. What if the cow fell off the roof? It would surely break his leg or even its neck. So he went up to the roof of the house to tie up the cow. He tied one end of the rope around the cow's neck, but there was nothing on the roof to tie the other end. So Gus slid the loose end of the rope down the kitchen chimney and went back to the kitchen. There he tied the rope which was hanging down the chimney around his own leg. The water in the pot was boiling and he started making porridge. That is when the cow lost his balance and began to fall. Now the cow was heavy. It was a heavy, poly structure. It weighed much more than Gus and his wife and his baby and the dog and all put together. The cow slowly slid off the roof, dragging the rope with which it was tied. And as Gus had knotted one end of his rope to his own leg, this pulled him up the chimney. And there in the chimney, Gus remained stuck, unable to go up or down. There he stayed until his wife returned home. In the evening, she saw the cow hanging halfway down at the side of the house, struggling and kicking. So she quickly cut the rope and the cow reached the ground with a thud. And inside the house, gloomy Gus went tumbling down. Down, poor man. Where did he end up? His head into the porridge pot. And guess what? He never ever tried to teach his wife again how to do her job. Bye, children. I hope we learn how we have to mind our own business and not teach anybody else what to do.